Uh, Hello, vinyl community. On a Saturday that was supposed to be our annual summer party. It was we canceled it this past Thursday. Just the weather forecast, and the weather forecast was right. Of course, because it's Saturday, thunderstorms all day and rain. But when I'm in my office Monday to Friday, it's 85 to 90. It's blue sky. It's perfect. But because it's Saturday in New England, it's raining and lightning and thunder. So it's not really conducive to an outdoor party, even though I had a big tent I was borrowing from a friend of mine. It's not like a tent with the walls, so the rain I know everything would have got just swamped, and yeah, we would have got flooded out. It just sucks. But fortunately, I didn't have a whole lot of stuff purchased yet for the party. I was going to do that on Friday. So a buddy of mine said, "Well, what's the rain date?" I said, "Next July." We just got too much going on for the next few weeks. Our daughter's leaving for university, college as they call it in the US here, and she's going to be going out to Southern California. So that's in a few weeks. We got a lot to do. So in the meantime, cheers. I'm going to have this beer anyway. I was all set to tap a keg around this time. Party was supposed to start. It's a beer from Rhode Island near Gansett. It's the clam beer. You're supposed to drink it with a plate of fried clams, as you see it on the fried clams here. Yeah. All right, folks. I'm not going to cry anymore. I'm going to move into this thread that's floating around. It's my top 10 most listened to records. My friend David Atkinson over in the UK, just saw him. He did one response. My friend up in British Columbia, Fitz Electric Bar. I'll put links to both those channels, David Atkinson as well as Fitz Electric Bar, and you can check out their videos they made in response to this thread. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's a fluid situation in that it's always changing. So I could say my 10 most listened to records. Actually, I'm going to do 12 because I couldn't make up my mind. But these are ones, the whole theme here is these are records you can go to anytime. You can always count on them. They may not be the best in that artist's discography, but you just like them for whatever reason. And screw the critics. You like what you like, right? So I better get started here, or I'm going to go on all day preaching. So this is Who's Next. This is the Who's sixth studio album. Right here in 1971 was the release date on this one. This is a copy I got in a collection. That's why it's got the W on it. I had a copy of this when I was way back, probably, just before high school. I was into these guys around 8th, 9th grade, big time. And this album was probably my favorite, and still is my favorite Who album. I really love it. You've seen it before, all these songs too. Babel O'Reilly, Bargain, Love Ain't for Keeping, My Wife, Won't Get Fooled Again, of course, Behind Blue Eyes. I mean, the whole thing. That's why it's in this list, right? So it's Who's Next from 1971. Speaking of Southern California, these guys, there's Mike Ness on the front, lead singer, guitarist. Social Distortion, Somewhere Between Heaven and Hell. This is their fourth studio release from 1992. Of course, in the 90s, I was buying all compact discs, so that's what you get for me showing this one. So yeah, they come in hot on this one. Cold Feelings, Bad Luck, Make 'Em Believe, Born to Lose, Bye Bye Baby. Never Lets Up, right through to This Time Darling, and there's an extra cut on here called Ghost Town Blues that rounds out this 11-song collection. Really good band. If you like the Blasters, these guys are called a punk band, but I wouldn't call them punk. They're like I don't know, like the more rockabilly kind of look about them. They got that kind of 50s look, like the Greaser there. Nice photos of the band here though on the inside, and that kind of got that 50s, artwork on the inside, and those are just all the lyrics there. So pretty cool. Yeah, and that's Somewhere Between Heaven and Hell. Social Distortion, Social Deeds, known to many people. Yeah, when we lived out there, we lived in Huntington Beach for 5 years. They play every summer because I think Mike Ness lived in Costa Mesa, which was the next town over from Huntington Beach. They'd always play the OC Fair. I never saw them. Our daughter was really young at the time. I was going to Disney and doing stuff like that. Took a break from concerts there for a number of years. But anyway, back at it. I saw Jason Isbell on this past Thursday night. I'm going to talk about that in a coming video. Speaking of concerts. But anyway, a record that didn't do that great, but it was their second duo together. They were married at the time. Chris Christopherson, of course, and Rita Coolidge. Full Moon was the album they did before this one. This one came out in 74. Full Moon, I think, came out in 72. Full Moon won a Grammy. This did not. But this is really good. I love it. Look, there they are hanging out in the studio. Yeah, so Lover Please, We Must Have Been Out of Our Minds, What You Gonna Do, I'd Rather Be Sorry. I mean, it's all about the listener, right? And what you like, and you know, that's all that really matters. And in the case of this, I like this actually better than Full Moon. Full Moon's a great album, and I have that too. I've got most of Chris Christopherson stuff from the late 60s into all right up through into the 80s, and then I kind of checked out. But yeah, this is a really good album. So again, that's why it's in this list, right? All right. Ugh, technical difficulties with the file here. All right, Pink Floyd, Animals. This is their 10th studio album from 1977. There's a pig on a wing right there. Boom, boom, boom. And of course, Pigs on the Wing. There's three parts to it on this album. Pigs on the Wing Part 1, Part 2, 3 different ones, and Part 2 rounding out side 2. You can see there. There's the track listings right there. So it's really good. Funny story, the song Dogs. In the background, when it starts, you can kind of hear a dog barking. And I remember at the time, yes, it's the thunder and lightning starting now. And there's my daylight fading. Excuse me here for a moment. There's natural light in here. So anyway, yeah, so I remember at the time I was just out of university myself in my first place, and a buddy of mine had a dog, and he came over, and it was a Saturday afternoon, and we were ripping on the bong, and the dog was just hanging out in the living room, had the stereo on, and this album was on, and the dog started barking, and his dog just started freaking out, and yeah, that was just kind of a funny story to me anyway. But he didn't like the sound of the other dogs. Oh, that was great. Duffy was my buddy's dog's name. Yeah, Duffy the dog. All right, things you remember with music, right? You associate with certain things and people. How about this one? Frank Sinatra at the Sands. This is 1966. I've probably got, there was a video I did, it was like show the most of the artists that you have the most of in your collection, and it ended up being Frank Sinatra. I have 22 albums, that's it, yes. Most of the stuff on Reprise and the label before Capitol. The Capitol stuff I prefer, but Reprise stuff is good too, and you can see here this album is on Reprise. So he played with Billy Mays and Nelson Riddle, but this as his orchestra, but this one, of course, is with Count Basie, as you can see there on the cover, and it's produced and arranged by Quincy Jones, and there's Quincy Jones right there. No, what am I saying? That's Count Basie, but anyway, it was conducted by Quincy Jones. So anyway, there's some pictures of Frank on the inside. There he is in his dressing room before the concert. So this is nice. It's just a bunch of highlights from his early stuff, like Come Fly With Me, Fly Me to the Moon, All of Me. That's an instrumental, actually. Angel Eyes, My Kind of Town. And then he intersperses some monologues back and forth, interchanges with the audience that are very entertaining. He was a pretty funny guy, Frank Sinatra, actually. When he wasn't singing, he was a bit of a comedian. So this is Sinatra at the Sands. I just love it. That's a great go-to on a Sunday afternoon in the wintertime. I love it. All right. Maybe you're surprised to see this in my collection. Maybe not. I'm always full of surprises. And here you go. I'm a huge Genesis fan. The early Phil Collins, when he took over on vocals, is good. This is kind of the end for me. After this, I was done with Genesis. The self-titled Genesis that came after this was like, that's where I kind of really checked out. But this one, I think I really, well, I don't think I know, I really like it. And this one from 1981, and this was the 12th studio album called Abacab. I don't know the name Abacab, if that was like a chord progression in music. Any of my viewers that are musicians, maybe you could drop a comment. I don't know if that's what that means, but I remember hearing that. At least I think I heard that at some point along the way, that's something to do with a chord progression. And you can see I would have bought this when I was still living in Canada. Canadian Press right there with the maple leaf. So yeah, Abacab, the title track, is great. I like No Reply at All. Really big horn section going on. Dodo, Lurker is good. Even Man on the Corner. And Keep It Dark is one you never heard. Once in a while maybe on FM radio, if it was featuring the deep cuts from this record. Keep It Dark. Really great drums on that one from Phil, of course. Inside here, there's a photo of the guys. Yeah, there they are right there. Yeah, Mike Rutherford, Tony Banks, and Phil Collins right there. So yeah, and I'm not a fan of Mike Rutherford and the Mechanics. I did not like that stuff at all. And the Tony Banks solo stuff, I could do without that too. But as a band, they're really great. And that tour was captured on this. It's called Three Sides Live. This is 1982. Yeah, all the tracks are here. Turn It On Again, Dodo, Lurker that I just mentioned, or sorry, Dodo, Abacab, Behind the Lines, and Duchess, of course, from the Duke album. Misunderstanding, Afterglow. Yeah, and the disc 3, well, not disc 3, record 3 contained studio stuff. So I don't know if it was leftover stuff from the Abacab sessions there, but Paper Late was a single from it. And yeah, not much on the inside here. I don't know if there's any photos. No, they really cheaped out on this. This was one of my first CDs that I ever bought. Not much going on in there at all, just the liner notes. So not much to see here, as the saying goes. It's Three Sides Live, Genesis. I just thought I'd throw that in as a tie-in with Abacab. All right, here we go. From Scotland, I bring you Simple Minds, live in the City of Light. Of course, that is otherwise known as Paris. Paris, en français. Yes, en français. So it's Simple Minds live, of course, in Paris, as I just said. The reason I like this as a go-to record, it kind of covers all the bases here with this band. Early songs on here from a record that I really love. From New Gold Dream, you've got Somewhere in Summertime. And from Sparkle in the Rain, you've got Waterfront. And Book of Brilliant Things is on here also from Sparkle in the Rain. East at Easter is a great song too. I believe that was on Sparkle in the Rain too. And then later stuff like Sanctify Yourself, I think that was on Once Upon a Time. Love Song, one of their early singles from, I think that might have been on Reel to Reel Cacophony from 1980, 1979. That's probably the earliest song on this live set. The inside, not much there. Just a bunch of fleur-de-lis, because that's a French thing. Oh yeah, there's a nice book with this. Yeah, what am I saying? Yeah. They didn't totally cheap out. So it's a nice book. Kind of like when you go to a concert back in the day. I used to buy concert programs a lot. Photo shoot they did here. Yeah, really nice. There's Charlie Burchill, the lead guitarist right there. And there's Jim Kerr, the lead singer. That's Charlie Burchill right there. Really great guitar player, Charlie Burchill. Excellent. They're still at it, those guys. All right. Big Grateful Dead fan, as you know, and this is Jerry Garcia's self-titled debut, just called Garcia, from 1972, this one. It's really, really, really good. I mean, I actually just listened to this again for the millionth time last night. Side 2 is totally different than Side 1. Borders on progressive rock or avant-garde. There's a medley of 3 songs, Late for Supper, Spider God, and E-Power instrumental. Then it goes into that nice love song called To Lay Me Down, which is great. Most of the songs on this, I believe, all of the anything with vocals on here was written by Robert Hunter, who was one of the lyricists for the Dead. Not in the band, but he wrote their songs as a collaborator. Bill Kreutzmann plays drums on this, and there's a credit there for Robert Hunter right there. And you can see with Billy Kreutzmann, one of the drummers for the Grateful Dead, sits in on this for these sessions. My favorite on this album would probably be Sugaree. And then second would be The Wheel. I love The Wheel. And of course, after this, they integrated all those songs into Grateful Dead shows. So yeah, that's Jerry Garcia's debut. Can't go wrong with that one, man. All right, and I've showed this one several times, but it's on this list. I probably listen to this record once a month if I'm in a really contemplative mic mood. And that does happen once in a while. I'm not always the funny guy like I am right now. I can be quite contemplative. And so this is a record for that purpose. And it's Ommadawn by Mike Oldfield. I'll spit that out. So this was released in 1975. It was his third. The one before this, Hegemon Wind, I think it was called. I'm butchering that title. And of course, Tubular Bells was his debut that he did at the beginning. And it was actually, I think Tubular Bells may be the very first record on Richard Branson's label, of course, Virgin. So they were friends, and he helped fund Mike Oldfield's first record, Tubular Bells, which was, of course, picked up as a soundtrack for the film The Exorcist. So yeah, this is all instrumental. There is some choir, there's like a boys' choir, like a church kind of choir on a couple of songs, but it's actually only 2 songs. What am I saying? And there's all, like, you've got a British pipe band, you've got these African percussion guys over here, and then there's like a children's chorus. Like I said, it's just really all over the place. This is not something you want to put on at a party, but if it's a party for one, like usually when I listen to this is great. So it's Mike Oldfield, Ommadawn. Oh God, we're really all over the map, but that's how I like it. All right, REO Speedwagon, High Infidelity. This one and that album, To Catch a Fish or whatever it's called, are really all you need for REO Speedwagon. I have that album. I just can't think of it. To Catch a Fish, Throw It Back. It's something to do with a fish, that other REO Speedwagon. But this was their 10th studio album and their biggest. The label just kept hanging on with these guys, but good thing they did, because this was a good one for Epic. I think this is a gold record. And of course, lead vocalist Kevin Cronin, and also produced right there by Kevin Cronin, the lead singer. It's just infectious pop rock. It's just really, really awesome. If that doesn't scream 1980, what does? Look at those clothes, right? And there's the lead singer right there, Kevin Cronin. They're still doing it. And yeah, I bought this in 8th grade. I remember the summer right before I went to high school. So Don't Let 'Em Go, Keep On Loving You. In Your Letter almost has a 50s vibe to it in the sound. Take It On the Run is probably the best cut on this. Tough Guys is another really good one too. But yeah, I just really like it. It's one of those love it or hate it, right? But I really love it. So it's REO Speedwagon, and that's High Infidelity. A little blues now for you. Yeah. Oh yeah, if I'm gonna have some blues, I'm gonna have this. Oh yeah. George Thorogood, Moving On Over. Yeah, You Move It On Over. It's his second album, and this is from 78 right here, yeah. Oh yeah, there's with the band on the back. This is just killer. No filler at all here. Moving On Over, he opens up with the title track. Who Do You Love? Sky Is Crying. Cocaine Blues, that's the Johnny Cash song. So Much Trouble. Baby Please Set a Date. New Hawaiian Boogie is just really awesome, and he saves that to the last track on this album. That song I mentioned called New Hawaiian Boogie, as opposed to the old one. This is the New Hawaiian Boogie, right? But it's really awesome. There he is right there, right? Just sizzling. Saw him in 85 on the Maverick tour. One of my favorite concert memories so far. Still going to shows. Lastly, in that same kind of vein as Thorogood, I give you Jason and the Scorchers from Nashville, Tennessee. This is their debut from 1985. Actually, I listened to this one too last night. This is great. This is a used copy I would have picked up a year or two after, because I wasn't quite in university yet, so you could see someone wrote their name on it. God, that's annoying, isn't it? Lost and Found. But other than the name scrawled on there, right on his shirt, that's Jason right there, the lead singer. Jason Ringenberg on vocals, harmonica and acoustic guitar. There they are in a limo, it looks like. This is another one. Every song is awesome. Just great drinking tunes, just balls out, rock and roll. I mean, they were from Nashville, but they weren't country. They were, I'd put them in the same vein as like the Blasters, that kind of, again, I mentioned the Blasters, that whole kind of rockabilly, rock and roll. Like it's just straight up. That's what it is. So it opens Last Time Around, White Lies, Lost Highway, Broken Whiskey Glass, Blanket of Sorrow, and Shop It Around's another one that easily could have been a single, but it wasn't. Shop It Around, again, the name of that track. So that's going to close out my list here of my 10 most listened to records. But if you come back and see me in a month, I might have a list of 12. Sorry, I'm saying it's my 12 most listened to. So again, if you come back in a month, this list could be totally different, right? It just depends on the day, it depends on the mood. So anyway, yeah, next year, hopefully we get some better weather and I have my party. And I'll invite some of you vinyl community people out there to show up. And that'll be fun too. So you gotta have something to look forward to, right? Even on a rainy day that we're getting here. But anyway, all is not lost. Life's pretty good overall. So I will see you all next time. And that's that.